What's going on, people? It's the Xbot 448, and today we're talking about that number one subject again, resolution. Oh man, I can't believe it. Throughout this entire generation, this has become such a buzzword when it comes to video games in this generation of consoles that it's absolutely pathetic. Alright, what we're talking about, Quantum Break. Basically, Remedy came out at what I think it was called SIGGRAPH, the SIGGRAPH panel or whatever. They hand out awards to developers and stuff, and basically detailed what they were doing with Quantum Break in terms of resolution. Now, they detailed everything for them, and I believe they even got an award for it. I have to go back and double check on that, but they detailed everything. Now, a couple days ago, Digital Foundry got their hands on what they call a final cut of the game, the first two levels, and of course Digital Foundry, doing what they do, they analyzed the game, and they came out with some peculiarities. They said there's a lot of things that kind of came across 720p, registered in the computer at 720p, but then when they looked at certain things in the game, it didn't show a 720p type resolution. So they were kind of confused. They didn't know what was going on with this game and stuff like that. But this turned into a big thing. Journalists, grabbed what they said and made articles and stuff like that. And it's turning into this whole thing about Quantum Break and the resolution. Guys, please open up your eyes. Go and watch some trailers of this game and see. They'll say playing on X1, right? The game looks amazing. Okay, and we're still talking about resolution, which is, it came to make, I decided to make this video because of this, because I believe that the whole topic of resolution is literally ruining this generation's games. I mean, if you go back to the launch, look at Rise Son of Rome, right? Rise Son of Rome is 900p, and it's still one of the best looking games to date for this generation of consoles. And that's all three consoles if you want to count the Wii U. All three consoles. That's still one of the best looking games, but because there was an argument about the resolution and it's not natively 1080p, that game took a hit because of that. Look at Killzone. Killzone is technically it's not 1080 native 1080p, right? Sony basically came out, Sony and Guerrilla came out, and they tried to say it was 1080, then they went back on it and said, well, no, it's kind of like it's 1080i with intersecting variants and stuff like that. And they actually came out with an apology for straight up lying about this, but they're using a different technique, and because of this, it's taking away from the visuals of that game. That game looks incredible. Look at Dead Rising, the Dead Rising 3, right? At the launch, those 900p, right? And there was some performance issues with that game. Don't get it twisted, but look at what they did with the amount of zombies and the amount of detail in those zombies on that launch game. But because of the resolution, that game also took a hit. Do you see where I'm getting at? What I'm getting at? Like, we're taking something that developers put in last when coding a game. That's the developer's priority, is the gameplay, the graphics, the textures, the lighting and stuff, all that stuff, and then resolution at the end. And we're taking that whole resolution and we're putting it at the beginning of talking about upcoming games. How many times have you talked about being excited about a game to somebody, and one of the first things they ask you is, well, do you know the resolution? The resolution isn't graphics, first of all right? The resolution isn't gameplay. But one of the first things people ask about is resolution, and that's because of this generation. It happened when Sony decided that they were going to say 1080p, 60 frames per second. These are words you're going to hear a lot this generation. This is a promise that they haven't totally fulfilled as well, alright? But they said it, and, you know, because of the backlash from Microsoft's idea with the X1 and what they were going to do with the system and stuff, Sony was already riding a high pedestal with people because they were like, no, we're giving you disc-based games, and this is how you trade your games and stuff. Sony could have said anything at that point in time and would have looked great, alright? But from all that, the whole buzzword of resolution came out of it. And it's absolutely insane. I would think that the gaming community had more common sense to this. At least the hardcore gaming community, you guys know, right? One of the things I hear about resolution is, well, everybody now has 1080, 1080p TVs, and they want their console to take full advantage of the resolution on their TV. That's all well and good. That didn't happen last generation, though. Even when it first started and 720p was pretty much the standard, you had games running at 480, 544, all of them upscaled, right? And it makes a difference this gen now. Now it's supposed to go with the TV standard, when last gen it didn't. I didn't hear too much about resolution coming from the gamers, coming from the consumers last gen, alright? It was all about the performance and how pretty the game was. How immersive the game was. That is the biggest thing. Do you get caught up in the game? Do you forget you're in your living room? Do you get attached to the story? That's the biggest thing in gaming. That's what developers want to see from their games. They want to see people get surrounded by their art, by their game. Alright? And that's what I look for in gaming as well. So when it comes to resolution, to me, resolution is at the bottom step. Like, it's one of the last things you ever talk about. And that's what I see. Alright? And it's funny because that's pretty much what developers see until this generation. So guys, when are we going to stop talking about the resolution of the game and get into more or less, you know, the gameplay, the graphics, what's entailed in multiplayer, how does the story like grab you, all the really important things in gaming? When are we going to go back to that? Because I am not going to let Sony and Sony's words dictate what I think is a good game or not. Alright? And I don't think anybody else should either. Sony, you know, they claim they're for the gamers, right? But in all actuality, due to, you know, their finances going from the end of last generation into this generation, Sony isn't really for the gamers, but they're more or less for survival. They're doing this stuff to survive. Their main goal is to make PlayStation a streaming service that they will offer on TVs. So you know they're going to offer it on a Sony TV, probably with better perks than, you know, if you got it on a Samsung or something like that. They're going to use the PlayStation brand name to sell more Sony devices. That's their main goal here. So if they can get through this generation doing that, that's what they're going to do. And they're going to use any tactic to get to that point. Alright? I am not going to let one company dictate what I think is a good game. Especially when it comes to such a minute thing as resolution. But as usual, guys, I want to know what you guys think about this. Are you going to be picking up Quantum Break? I still want the game. At first I was looking at it like a Killzone type thing, and I was thinking about not picking up the game. But then I realized throughout the entire thing, Remedy has detailed exactly what they did in coding this game, what they did in making this game. Therefore, it's different than the whole Killzone thing. Alright, Guerrilla didn't really say anything about what they did until after it was put out there that this game isn't really at that native resolution. But then again, like I said, resolution does not mean shit. Alright? Doesn't mean shit to me, shouldn't mean shit to you. Alright? Especially with upscalers that are in the consoles. But as usual, hit up that comment section. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. I will be giving it away an Elite X1 controller as soon as I hit 1,000 subs. So there's something to look forward to. But as for now, this is the Xbot 448. And I am definitely signing off.
Listen up.